friend Gage is gonna talk to you. Oh, and John Claude, he'll be there, oh, too. Even though they're not close together, they're far away. There, one's in Tampa, the other one's in LA. Oh, Gage, what's the show called again?
Fucking, it's Almost Adults. Shit.
Almost adult. Shit.
Welcome to the Almost Adults podcast. I'm here with John Claude and our very first guest, Kat.
Cat Venditti, everyone.
Yay!
Oh, wait, are we allowed to say last names? Do we?
I said my last name
right now, so
it's up to Kat.
Maybe don't put my last name. People on the internet are scary.
They are. They'll find you.
Don't find me. Don't yell at me. People are gonna yell at me.
That's sort of like my worst fear. Paul F. Tompkins did this routine. He's like, I went for 2 years in college before dropping off because I was so afraid of my parents yelling at me.
Oh. Wait, he went to college because he was afraid his parents were going to yell at him?
Yes.
That's the exact opposite reason you want to go to college.
Yeah, precisely. So, our conversation is probably going to be a little more focused than last time. That's the goal, hopefully.
Yeah.
Well, actually, Kat, I'm not going to throw her under the bus, but I'm just saying that she came up with the topics today.
Ooh.
I did. I have done some serious adulting in the past few weeks, and it's been pretty inspiring.
So what's our first topic of the night so we can delve right into that adulting?
Jobs.
Gerbs. Okay.
Yeah.
Jabs. I actually have a story. Do you want me to say my story, or Kat, do you want to go first?
Tell your story.
Yeah, tell your story.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. All right. So yesterday, well, actually a couple days ago, I found an ad online and it said, welcome to the radio network in Hollywood. You want to go to there and audition? We have open auditions. And I said, okay, sweet. So I go there. I was supposed to talk to this David Goldstein guy.
Mm-hmm. Jewish?
And, yes, John Claude.
Sorry,
that
going.
Is a Jewish name.
Yes. So while we were on the topic.
Anyways, so I went to the secretary and I'm like, hey, I'm supposed to see David Goldstein. And I went into this room that was like, I swear, right out of the 1980s. And it just even had like a black and white film playing. So I'm like, this is odd. There's a couple more people in there, and some other people came a little bit later. So as soon as this black and white film started, by the way, this film was about like radio broadcasters and about like how this guy named Armstrong attacked his wife with a fire poker and then committed suicide. And I'm like, is this supposed to inspire me to be in the business? I don't want to.
Oh.
Anyways, that's not the important part.
Okay.
The important part is a guy in a suit came out and he's like, welcome to the whatever company. And I'm going to call this guy like Alex Lewis.
Okay.
For the sake
so
of
Alex
the story.
Lewis comes out. He's very unfamiliar with the name of the company he works for.
So he's like, hey guys, welcome to this company. I am Alex Lewis and I am going to pass out an application sheet because it was open auditions and we didn't like bring our resume or anything. So I filled out the sheet. And the first odd thing I noticed was this guy wasn't David Goldstein, as I was led to believe.
Ooh.
And
that's how they draw you in.
That's how, yeah.
The name of Goldstein.
Goldstein. I expected to be showered with gold with a name like Goldstein. Anywho, the first there are three subjects on the top. Say, where did you hear this from? A newspaper? And I'm like, that's odd. And they're like, a friend? And I'm like, no. And the last one was, something else, like magazine or something like that.
A telegram? Did you hear it on the train, young laddie?
Yeah, and I was baffled. And I'm like, we're still in 2016, right, guys? Like, I was actually questioning when this took place. So Alex Lewis was like, all right, guys, did I mention he was in a suit and a tie?
You did.
Yeah, he was the most well-dressed in there. And he's like, all right, guys, you get to say radio shows. And at first we're going to air you at 3 or 4 in the morning. And I'm like, all right, that's reasonable. I'm lucky they're airing me at all. And he's like, then we get to go on FM. Then we get to go on the internet. And anyone can hear you on the internet.
Ooh.
And I'm like, okay, well, I do a podcast. And that's sort of the same thing. That's sort of basic stuff. Okay.
Yeah.
And he's like, all right, so we're going to interview you guys. And I actually have the transcript sheet right here. He's like, we're going to interview you guys or audition you guys one by one. And you got to say, hi, this is Gage Agnew for KLOS 95.5 FM, Los Angeles.
Ooh, okay, so that's how we're going to start this podcast, right? You're going to, crop that into the beginning?
That's the cold open right there.
Okay. All right, so keep going.
And so I did that, and I said a commercial for like a fake brand, and he's like, all right, you can either be an independent producer or you get to work for us. We got to tell you what to do. Or as an independent producer, you buy your own equipment and do your own stuff. And I'm like, okay. And he's like, and then you got to pay us some fees for doing sponsorships early. And I'm like, okay. And then he started talking about phases, and I'm like, what? And at the very end, he's like, we're running out of time. We're just going to do like 30 seconds interviews. And then he pointed to everyone in that room and said, what do you do? Sell me and yourself in 30 seconds. And I don't do well under pressure.
Oh my God.
So I was like Porky Pigging it the whole time. I was like, I work for Sonic the Hedgehog.
Oh, man. This kid...
The Hedgehog.
This kid works for Sonic the damn Hedgehog. Let's fast track into the top.
That's impressive.
We're bumping you straight to the internet, kid. You've got what it takes. Screw FM radio. So what did he say?
So I jacked up that audition, and he's like, all right, you call us tonight, and we'll tell you if you got the position. So I called at like 6 o'clock, and they're like, hey, you got it. And I was like, yeah.
Yeah.
And they're like, okay, you have to pay us $100 tomorrow for a press pass, just for like a safe deposit. I'm like, okay. And so I called my dad. I'm like, Dad, I got a job. I just have to pay like $100. And he was like, you should probably Google this company. And I'm like, all right, I'll Google it. It's a scam.
Yeah.
The whole thing was a scam the whole time. There's all these 1-star reviews on Yelps. And I called my dad back like 5 minutes later. I'm like, Dad, this is a fucking scam.
Sucks.
And he's like, yeah, I know. Wasn't it obvious?
When they made you pay them money?
Luckily, I didn't pay a cent.
Good.
But it wasted like 3 hours of my time.
Yeah.
And like my social anxiety, which is, as you know, terrible. So I wasted all my time, and I called them back immediately, and I'm like, hey, I got to turn this down. And they're like, all right, bye. And that's how I was almost scammed yesterday.
Oh, my God.
Well, that is certainly a life experience.
That's a pretty adulty thing to be encountered with.
Well, but I'm not quite an adult. I'm a almost adult.
Mm.
That's the name of the podcast.
Almost Adult? Is that the name of our podcast?
Yes, I said it at the beginning.
Did you really?
Yeah. Yes, Almost Adults. Yeah, we didn't settle on a name initially.
Okay.
And I said Almost Adults. And John Claude's like, yeah, I like that. And I'm like, all right, that's the name of our podcast. And apparently he forgot.
Did I really say I'm all right with that?
Yes, you did.
I mean, because I am all right with that. I'm just, I guess I was drunk during that moment, that part of the.
Were you drunk the first podcast?
Oh, you said it during the first podcast?
Yes.
Oh,
you guys get drunk during these podcasts?
I don't know.
I do not. I do not.
Yeah.
Maybe we'll have one episode, like a special, like an April Fool's episode where we just get drunk.
That would be incredible.
Yeah, I would be down with that. Cool. Or a St. Patty's Day. Well,
St. Patty's Day.
Well, probably by the time we get this out, it won't be St. Patty's Day anymore.
When's that? It's soon, yeah?
Yeah, it's like the 16th, but we haven't released the first podcast as of this recording.
Oh.
That's why I haven't heard it yet. Okay.
Yeah.
Yes. I thought I sent you the rough draft. Nope, never did.
Nothing.
I sent you the Sonic the Hedgehog script.
Yeah, that's what
No, I sent the Undertale script.
The Undertale script, because I got that one too.
That was a good script.
Yeah.
Yeah. They didn't go with that, though.
Why not? What did they not like about it?
They never said. They just said they were going a different direction with it.
Okay.
And I mean, watching the video that they did, they definitely, I can see the different direction that they took. I can't necessarily put it into words.
I never watched it.
No, you don't have to, or you can.
For my own curiosity.
Yeah.
But yes, that was my job story.
All right.
Did anyone else have a job?
Yeah.
Ever?
Ever? I've had an ass ton of jobs.
Yeah. Okay, well, tell us about your most recent job, Kate.
My most recent job. Okay, well, I'm currently working like 3 different jobs.
Oh.
Like really random jobs. Like I'm working part-time at a comic book store, which is fun, but there's also like that sense of pride you have when like, oh, I have a college degree. I'm thousands of dollars in debt. And now I'm working retail in a job I could have gotten without going to college. But I think there's no shame in kind of taking a job as it comes.
No.
But that's a whole other story.
Especially if you're taking multiple jobs. I mean,
And it's
that is
hard
the
to
post.
find a job. I was working mall jobs like after high school, and I remember I always had like my managers always were like college graduates, and they were always like bitter about it that like this is the job they had. But it's hard to find a job. But that's a whole other digression. So I'm doing that part-time. And then on Mondays, I'm volunteering as an English teacher. And then on Saturday
where
morning,
are you volunteering as an English teacher?
at the Hispanic Outreach Center
Whoa.
Oh, that's what you're doing there.
What days can you volunteer for that?
for the English class.
I mean, just in volunteering to teach in general.
Well, I'm doing it through the Literacy Council of Upper Pinellas. So, like, you get in touch with them, and they will hook you up.
Okay, never mind, because I was going to be like, yo, I'll come in, I'll be substitute physics teacher or chemistry teacher.
No, it's
I would
like an
do
English
that.
language thing. So I'm working with Spanish-speaking people.
Oh, how's your Spanish?
How's my Spanish?
How's your Spanish?
Oh dear! Don't you dare start
would
talking
speak
Spanish on this
¿Cómo
podcast.
está su español?
This is a Donald Trump supported podcast.
Hablo como tengo 5 años.
We don't allow
Tengo
this.
confianza en mi español, pero hago que puedo.
She said something about a dog.
No.
Perro is dog, isn't it?
No, if it has 2 R's, then it's a dog, but it has...
There's perro?
Oh,
And
perro. Okay.
John Claude knows what's up.
We can keep talking about your work, but small digression. I went to Colorado this past week and spent the week there with some family friends from Chile. And it was
Nice.
one of those things where they were very poor English speakers. And I've always been kind of reserved about speaking Spanish in front of native Spanish speakers out of making a fool of myself.
Same.
And then for some reason this time it clicked in my head, because if you ever listen to your cousins that come from Chile, by the way, both Kat and I are Chileans.
Oh yeah, we
guess
have a
that's the
whole
way to-
audience of our parents.
Yeah, I mean that's our main
Show this
viewer
to my
base
mom.
right now. We're a hit in Chile right now. We're huge. Anyways, so whenever you speak with your cousins from Chile and they have like broken English and they have those accents, do you ever get like annoyed with them? Do you ever feel like that's weird? No,
No,
right?
not at all.
Yeah, so it kind of clicked in my head. I was like, I have to sound to them in Spanish how they sound to me when they speak English. And I take all their words with a grain of salt. They may use like the past tense incorrectly, or they might use the present tense instead of the past tense, but it makes sense to me. And when that realization occurred, I was like, I have no now reservations about trying to speak Spanish.
No reason to be embarrassed about it. I'm the same exact way. Like one of my cousins, she told me, she was like, yeah, I used to be really self-conscious about my English, but now I really don't care. Like as long as I'm trying and getting my point across and doing my best, that's
Right.
what matters. And that makes so much sense to me. Like exactly what you're saying. Like if they're gonna, make some grammatical errors and I'm fine with it, why should I care if I make grammatical errors?
Exactly. You're going to get your point across either way. I mean, somehow you're going to form that.
I make grammatical errors in English, and
Yes.
I get away with it somehow. You somehow tolerate it.
We have a podcast where all of our grammatical errors come out.
Yeah, we all speak English together.
Yeah,
Oh,
I hope we don't do
I
it
know.
this podcast, but the last podcast we did a lot of like, and also,
I mean,
and
is there anything like inherently wrong with using the word like?
no, I was just John Claude suggested that we tone it down, and I agreed.
There's nothing inherently wrong with using the word like. Personally, I think that it comes off as more professional so the words like and those are kind of verbal fillers, and it's your brain kind of filling in a gap when it's trying to connect multiple thoughts. So the way we speak, we kind of come out in these quick bursts, and then we haven't completely thought through the statements, so we pause.
That's
and
true.
we fill it with ums.
That's interesting.
I think it comes across more professional if rather than filling that pause verbally with an or a like, then to just take a pause and then keep going.
I feel
because
like
in
that
sense,
would come with practice.
It does. It definitely does. Here we go.
For our audience, Jean-Claude like bulged his eyes and stuck his tongue out like
but if you think
like a
about
ghost in Mario.
Oh, Mamma Mia! If you now I'm blushing. Now I'm turning I can feel myself going red. If you pause and you let yourself think through it, it also lets the person that's listening to you speak process what you've just said, so you can keep going in your conversation. And that's the end of that statement. So.
That's true. That's a good point.
Keep going about your job. I want to hear more about it.
So anyway, I just got this other job also at the Hispanic Outreach Center because they needed they're doing this tax service like through the IRS, and their last site coordinator quit and they're desperately looking for a new one, and I was like, I'll do it. I don't know how to fucking do taxes. So I have to do this 30-hour training to learn how to do taxes. And I've been going there every Saturday morning at 8 o'clock in the morning. And the thing is, I'm getting paid for this, but the ones actually preparing taxes are volunteers. And they're graduate students from USF, and they're volunteering their time. I'm getting paid to be there and be like, I know what I'm doing.
When you clearly don't.
Oh, God, not yet. I mean, I hope I do.
They're going to listen to this podcast and be like, oh, she doesn't know what she's doing.
I was there yesterday, and I was with the other site coordinator who's training me, and I was with two of the other volunteers, and the volunteers were talking to me, and they're like, oh, you're here training to be a coordinator next year? And I'm like, no, I'm going to be the coordinator next week. And they were like, oh, fuck.
Oh,
I mean, they didn't say that, but it read on their faces for sure.
Damn.
That I'm like some girl who's getting paid to be the boss of these like educated, trained accountants.
Yeah, isn't that crazy? Girls can be bosses nowadays.
You know what? I think I'm done with this podcast. Peace out. See you guys later.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
You add diversity to this group, please.
Yeah, both of you are diverse. I am like the whitest guy on here.
It's okay. I look extremely white. Both of us look extremely white for our Hispanic nature.
Yeah, I get that a lot.
Both of us, meaning you and Kat, not me.
Correct.
Not me.
I show up to the Hispanic Outreach Center because they know me as, my mom is the coordinator there, so they know me as the coordinator's daughter, and like this white girl shows up and they're like, are you Andrea's daughter? I'm like, yeah.
La Blancla Flama.
Oh, that was Spanish. That was some heavy Spanish, man. Good job.
Oh, thank you. I learned that from like Eastbound and Down. But what about your jobs?
My jobs?
Your jobs.
Ooh. Well, actually, before I go into my job, I have a super, by super, I mean relatively funny story. That has to do with the same kind of email that you got and winning a prize and that kind of thing.
Okay, it didn't say win a prize, but to be fair, I did find it on Craigslist.
Oh, okay.
Gage.
That's our Gage.
we should sound effects in here. So a while back, I don't know if I've told you guys this story. My mom went on a radio show. My mother is a sonographer. She owns her own business doing ultrasounds on pregnant women. So she was asked to go on a radio show to discuss her business and ultrasound, and she also does stand-up comedy. So it was connecting those two things. And she went on this radio show, and she asked me to, well, she didn't ask me. I, out of the kindness of my heart, recorded her online radio show so she could listen to it back later. So I start recording it. And they say on the radio show during the commercials that you can call in and be on the radio show and ask a question to this person who's like the sex doctor. Sexy. By the way, is what like the name of the radio show is.
The sex doctor.
It really is. I forget what her name was.
That's the title of this podcast. The sex doctor.
So
I'll put some like jazzy music every time we say it.
Thank God, yes.
Oh, fuck yeah.
Sex doctor. Oh. So about 10 minutes in, I decide I'm going to call And I'm thinking, I've never called into a radio show before, so I don't know how long they keep you on hold, how long that works. So I call in. The guy picks up the phone. His name is Richard or something. He asks for my name. So I tell him that my name is Nick Smith. Just like a really standard,
fake-ass name.
Fake-ass name. And so he's like, all right, Nick, I'm going to put you on right now. What's your telephone number just so we can record you down? So I give him my phone number that I'm calling as, writes it down. And he connects me right into the radio show. Next thing I know, I'm talking with the ladies, and they say, hi, you're on the radio show with the sex doctor. What is your problem? And so I have to think on my feet. And like, hi, I'm Nick Smith, and my pee-pee is limp. I can't get it out.
Did you say pee-pee?
I said something to that effect. Basically, I got it out that Mr. Nick Smith has problems getting it up in bed, and he has intimacy
That would have been my go-to as well, to be fair.
I know. I could have gone, if I would have had more time. I didn't think I was going to get connected directly, and I would have had time to think of something more exotic. So they put me on the show. My mom immediately knows that it's me on the air, so she just turns red and doesn't say a word, while these other two women on the show are trying to give me sex advice.
Why would you let your mother hear this?
I don't know. I thought it would be funny. It wasn't. It was really awkward, and they just told me to get my hormones checked, to go in and get my blood drawn and get my hormones checked.
And the next thing you know, I'm at the doctor.
No, so I hang up. They give me all this like advice. I'm on there for like 10 minutes. They give me all this advice. I'm trying to keep up the facade of Nick Smith.
Sorry, you were on there for 10 whole minutes?
Yes.
That sounds like an eternity.
That was some heavy improv right there. I'm proud of that part because I had to keep it going. And actually,
I can't control my pee-pee.
Oh, yeah, my name is Nick Valentine. Not Nick Valentine. That's a Fallout character.
Nick Valentine.
I think that's a Fallout character. I don't know. Nick Smith. And I have pee-pee problems.
I have pee-pee problems. Cat's looking like, why did I agree to do this?
I'm listening very intently. This is a very educational story about adulthood, which is why I'm here, you know?
Exactly. This is how we mature.
Cat, why is your pee-pee not standing up?
Gross.
Oh, it is.
Bye.
So we finish the call. I think it's the end of it. My mom gets home, confronts me about why I called into the radio show. I explain myself.
Wait, why did you call the radio show? Just to recap.
It would be funny.
I thought it would be funny.
Oh, yeah.
Excuse. I use it all the time.
Exactly. I always do it for the story, which I'm telling you right now. So I think that's the end of it. I think that's the last I'm going to hear of the radio show. It's going to be a funny story to tell, blah, blah, blah. 2 weeks later, I'm coming home from university, and I get a call on my cell phone, and they leave a message. I don't know the number, so I just let it go to voicemail, and I pick up the voicemail and I listen to it, and it's some gruff guy, and he's like, hello, is this Nick? I'm looking for Nick. Yeah, you were randomly entered into a radio contest, and you won our grand prize. So now I'm freaking out because I can't remember them saying that there was a prize during this radio show, but somehow I've won this grand prize. So I have to call him back to figure out what I've won. So I call him back. Hey, hello. Yeah, this is, is this Nick? Not exactly. I kind of made up that name. My actual name is Jean-Claude. I just want to win my prize. Turns out what they were giving away on this sex doctor show was a penile implant.
Sexy.
Which is for guys who want to get a bigger schlong. And so Nick Smith, with his impotency issues, has won this whole entire Casanova. It was the Casanova procedure, where they basically revitalize a guy's junk.
So is this in your possession right now? Did you play?
Where's Nick Smith?
No, Cat. My manhood is, I like him as he is. He's great. He did not need a Casanova procedure done.
But how could you say no to free stuff?
It's true. I should have asked.
No. That prize was for Nick Smith.
True. It was for Nick.
In fact, I think he's in the room right now. Hey, guys, how's it going? I'm Nick Smith.
Oh, hey, Nick Smith.
Why you ducking my prize down, Claude?
My peen's too small, and I needed it.
Yeah? You want to go in a peen measuring contest? We might want to cut that out.
Yeah, I'm not going to show this to my mom. She can't
No.
listen to this show.
Yeah, please cut that out. I don't know where that was going, but I think it was.
I don't know either. I'm like, wouldn't it be funny if I burst in as Nick Smith?
See, you did it because you thought it would be funny. It's a
Exactly.
perfectly good reason.
And that's a good cliff
Huh.
ender to this. So that was my story. It had nothing to do with jobs,
No, it really didn't. I mean, it had a little bit to do with jobs.
but it is a good transition. I feel like I'm talking a lot. Gage, do you want to go again before I talk about my job?
Sure, I'll talk a little bit.
Okay, go for it.
The other jobs I have held, I held one job at McDonald's.
Did you really work at McDonald's?
I did, yes.
When did you work there?
I want to say the summer of my junior year
Of high school?
of high school. I worked
Oh,
there for about 3 months. I remember one day I was mumbling to myself, hoping they thought I was crazy so I could go home early. That didn't work.
Yeah, it's not a courthouse, buddy. You can't get out of it.
I don't know. Apparently, insanity pleas are very rare, as I've learned.
In courts?
No, I didn't learn in courts. I did like a project on insanity pleas, and I found out, I'm like, oh, they don't happen as often as they do in movies.
That's interesting. Yeah, you'd think they would happen more often.
Yeah.
And apparently it doesn't happen at McDonald's when you're washing the dishes and just mumbling to yourself.
They'll hire it.
But I did freak out the manager, which was great.
Yeah, that's generally, I feel like, the normal reaction that you'd get. Just kind of freak people out, and they'll just keep going on with their jobs. People
Then
are...
I got... Oh, sorry.
No, people are more willing to turn a blind eye to something rather than confront it head on. So, especially something like insanity.
That new manager was not a very nice person.
Oh,
Forget her. I got hired at a movie theater, which I liked.
nice.
And then I worked at Savage Agency, and then I'm still good friends with those guys. And then I worked at Defy Media for a little bit, on and off. And here I am.
That was recently, yeah? Defy Media?
Yeah. I think the last time I worked there was December, but I recently met with one of the producers from there. That's what I was talking about earlier. Were you here when I was talking about the producer? Were we recording?
Are you talking to me or are you talking to Kat?
You, John Claude.
I remember you discussing you were meeting with the producer of Defy Media to do some sort of project or something like that.
Yeah.
But I can't remember what.
I think it's mainly Screen Junkie stuff to like production assist on.
Oh,
So-
they're the ones that are working with Screen Junkies.
Yes.
Yeah, we definitely talked about that.
Okay.
That's how we got into your script writing for the Dorkly stuff. I think Smosh. Sorry, Smosh for
Smosh. Yeah.
Undertale and things like that.
Anyways, John Claude, jobs. Did you have them? Did you beg on the street?
Yes, I was. I was a bustler for a while. I dabbled in bustling. Do you guys know what bustling is? I think
I do not. That's why I didn't laugh that
Oh,
hard.
sorry. Being a bustler, I think that's the word. Bustling. It's where you do street performances.
Oh,
Yeah.
nice.
And it might be busking.
Busking.
Something
I
like
think
that.
It's busking. That
Is it
sounds,
busking?
Busking.
That sounds like a word I might have heard
Yeah.
more than bustling.
My bad.
Bustling
Okay.
is like a mix between being a butler and a hustler.
Yeah.
Bustling.
Which is
That's
kind of
good.
street
A
performance.
butler.
So, Gage, bringing down the level. The butt
Bringing
jokes.
down the butt.
My first job was in high school, and that was at GameStop. And it was a good experience. I got a lot of spending my paychecks on video games and just having a vicious cycle of that kind of thing, which was to be expected. And then through a series of managerial shifts, from people quitting to people moving to join the army to that kind of thing, it just turned into crap. So I quit that job and I moved to university. I moved to FSU, and I didn't hold a job throughout college, and then graduated, dabbled at Busch Gardens doing some work there, which Kat was familiar with because she came to some party. Right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I didn't know this.
Yeah, so I worked at Busch Gardens during Hallow Scream kind of time, doing a scare actor. And at the end of the season, they hold a Screamers Ball, which is basically everyone goes to a bar dressed up in Halloween costumes, gets hammered, and parties. And Kat and her Chilean family was in town, and my friends were going. Alex, which I believe you've met, Gage.
I have never met Alex. We've
I
been
can't
over this
believe
multiple
that.
times.
How have
been to
you not met Alex?
He came to Tallahassee so many times. That's
Huh.
outrageous.
We just didn't invite Gage any of those.
He should be on the podcast.
He should. I think he'd be a good person to have on here. He too has recently got a job. So we went to the Screamers Ball. It was fun. Kat went as
Wirt.
from Over the Garden Wall, which
Over
is
the Garden
amazing.
Wall, yeah.
I made it myself.
It was very, very good.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
And I went as the guy from the Disney short Paperman.
Yes, that was also awesome.
Yeah, that was fun.
You didn't have a paper girl, though.
No. But I did I did try to make out with some girl, which was interesting.
Was it Kat?
Did I try to make out with you that night, Kat?
No.
Kat gave us the most disgusted face I've
really
ever
did.
seen.
Yeah.
And I'm like, John Cloud's not that repulsive. I would give him a little peck.
Thanks, man.
Hee
Yeah.
I kissed him right then.
Oh, thank you. It was nice.
Through the internet.
We all know you both would, but that's besides the point. So, moving on to my most recent job, which I acquired about 2 months ago. I started working in a clinical position, being a medical assistant.
That is cool.
Yeah. The best part is I get to work at a urology clinic.
Right on.
So, theme of this episode is peens, considering Nick Smith needed a peen implant, and now I work day to day. I've seen more penises and vaginas in the past 2 months than I have cared to. I'll be honest with you.
At least you're getting money from that, right?
I am getting money for that. I'm actually making pretty good.
I'm doing it for free. It's just a fraction of money.
Nah, man.
Listen, being a med student or a pre-med student, you might do those kind of things for free.
I slipped the janitor at 20, and I'm like, let me see those scrotes, man.
Yo, get in on this shit. I need to get that. It's really, really rewarding though, to be perfectly honest. I did not expect it to be so cool, considering that I work, it's a privately owned clinic. So it's kind of all of the procedures that I'm allowed to do, I wouldn't necessarily be able to do under a hospital setting or any sort of more regulated setting. So I've been catheterizing people. I've been doing procedures. I've been treating bladder cancer, which is pretty cool.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know if you guys have never catheterized anyone. That's pretty
Not
weird.
yet.
I have not. Can't say I
Okay.
have.
Yeah. Threading a tube up someone's peen, pretty wild. It's an interesting experience.
Would you recommend it?
Highly.
I would until the guy starts pissing blood out of it.
Oh, shit.
then you're afraid you're killed a man, which I was terribly afraid of because he wouldn't stop bleeding out of his.
Jesus Christ. You're responsible for killing somebody.
He
Jeez.
told me I catheterized him. He was bleeding so much. I sent him on his way. I told him it was okay. I sent him home.
I like the image of you like looking at this blood and like blood slipping everywhere, and the guy's like, "Is everything all right down there?" And you're like, "Yeah, everything's fine. Just don't look."
It's fine.
So I sent him home, and he calls me 2 hours later saying that he's still bleeding and that should not be happening. And so I have to call the doctor, afraid that I've killed this man, that he's going to bleed and he's going to have to go to the ER. Turns out he was on a lot of blood thinners. And when you insert a catheter, you irritate that endothelium of like the urethra. And if you like create an abrasion, it'll start bleeding and it won't stop if you're on blood thinners. And so that was his fault, not mine. But
I just imagined you looking up and just like, "This is your fault, sir. That blood is spraying everywhere."
the blood is on your hands, not mine.
The
The blood is on your dick, as I should say.
What do you say, Gage?
The blood is on your dick, as the saying goes.
Saying goes.
That story gave you anxiety, Kat?
Yeah, I would have thrown up and cried
Oh
if
my
that happened
god.
to me.
That's like my day-to-day life now, and it's pretty exciting.
Here's a subject we could talk about: asking people dumb questions or questions in fear that you might get in trouble. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I do that all the time, but I've gotten better at it. Like, I used to just not do shit at all for the fear that I would be doing it wrong. And I think that's kind of worse. Like, it's probably better to do anything than to do nothing.
100%, yeah.
People are more willing to help you than you think. Like, at my new job, everybody's been so helpful. I ask everybody everything all the time, and they're so friendly about it. They just want you to do a good job. They want you to help everyone out. There's really no shame in asking, and it took me a long time to learn that. It used to stress me out so much to ask how to do things.
This is the tax job that you're speaking about right now, or the comic book?
It's everything. It is every job I've ever had.
Huh.
No. I mean, like, they're very helpful. With
That's a comic book job.
Oh, really? Okay.
Because it's a huge store, and I've been having to learn, like, where everything is, how much everything costs, how to use our sales program in the computer. And it's just, oh my God, like, the first day on the job, they showed me literally everything. And I was like, how am I going to remember all this shit? So it's been, like, a process of trying to learn everything. But everybody's been so nice.
That's what happened with the radio job. I learned so much, and I'm like, how am I going to learn all this?
Yeah.
Turns out, didn't have to.
Oh, man. Oh, God.
On the bright side.
It's a sad story. That's the best part. Yeah.
No, I don't think that's a sad story. I look back on it and laugh. Sure, I wasted some of my time, but A, it's a good story, and B, I didn't lose any money out of it.
Can I use this opportunity as a segue into another story and another topic?
Go
Of course.
for it.
Okay, because you're talking about not looking at it as a bad thing. Okay, I had an experience last week, which I kind of consider my first real foray into adulthood, and it was a complete disaster, but, like, I can't be mad about it, because I'm like, I don't know, it could have been worse. I learned a good lesson. It was bound to happen eventually. This is the first time I really felt like an adult, is when my car broke down 2.5 hours away from home, and it cost me every penny I had, and there was just nothing I could do about it.
Oh.
And it sucked, but it's a great story.
Wait, what? So your car broke down, and to repair it, it cost every penny that you had?
It cost everything I had, which wasn't that much, but it was all.
It was in Gainesville, right?
It was in Gainesville, yeah. My friend and I decided to go to Gainesville to see the mountain goats. And it was supposed to be a really easy trip. We're going to drive to Gainesville. We're going to see the show. We're going to drive back to Clearwater. Be home like 3 or 4 in the morning. No. We're
Oh, man.
we're 20 miles away from Gainesville. We have like 20 miles up to drive. And I pull over to get gas, and then I realize my car won't steer. And we're like, okay. So we look under the hood, see like the steering belt popped off. We're like, we can just pop that back on. I call my insurance, and they tow us to a Firestone. And we're feeling really optimistic. We're like, yeah, this is no big deal. We're still going to make it in time to see the mountain goats, which we do. They tow us to this Firestone, and it's within walking distance from the show. So we run the rest of the way, and we get in the door right as John O'Neill starts playing. What was the first song he played? I don't remember, but it was a miracle. It was great. The show ends, and we take an Uber to some shitty motel, and I wake up the next morning, I'm thinking, gonna call Firestone, gonna get my car back, it's gonna cost me like $100, be on the road by noon. No. So we get there, and, so we take an Uber to the Firestone, and we tell our driver, every Uber we've taken, so far we've been like, yeah, what a crazy adventure, my car broke down, but we came to see a show anyway. And so we're telling this to our Uber driver, and we tell him, yeah, can you take us to the Firestone, that's where my car is, and he's like, you don't want to go to that Firestone. You want to go to that place over there. Points to this other auto shop called JC Auto.
I thought you were going to say this other fire zone.
Oh, this other Firestone, right across the street.
Not Firestone.
That's where someone died in that Firestone. It's haunted.
That Firestone closed 40 years ago. Whoa!
Whoa. So I'm thinking it's going to be fine. So we get to the Firestone, and I tell the person there, hey, I'm here to pick up the neon, and she goes to get the mechanic, and the mechanic comes out, and this is how he greeted me. You're here for the neon? I got some bad news for you. Why would you introduce yourself that way? So
Not
he
the way to
tells me,
start.
he tells me that I have to replace the tensioner, and I have to replace all this shit, and it's going to cost me almost $700. I don't fucking have $700. I just want to go home. So we call this other auto place that the Uber driver told us about. Mm-hmm. And we call her up, and this lady picks up, and I tell her the whole story. And she was like, well, without, seeing what repairs need to be done, I can't give you a quote, but here's what you do. Go to the mechanic, tell him that you want a printout of the price breakdown of everything they're going to do to your car. Tell them you're going to go, talk to your parents or something so they can help you pay it. And then come to me and show me the invoice, and I'll tell you what I'll charge you for it. And I said, okay, well, we can't really get over to your shop right now. Can we, text you a picture of the invoice? And she's like, yeah. So she gives us her cell phone number, and we're texting back and forth for a while. And then I get my keys back from Firestone, and I'm like, peace, can't afford you.
Oh, yes.
Yeah. And so we...
See ya, suckers.
So I call my insurance again, and I'm like, can you tow me again? And they're like, well, normally we only do this one time, and you have to actually get repairs at the place where we tow you to, but we'll do this again for you just this once.
Nice.
And we're like, okay, awesome. And he tells us the tow truck will be there in 45 minutes. And my friend and I are like, great, let's go get breakfast. So we walk down the street to this nice little place. We get breakfast. We walk back to the Firestone. My car is gone. And then JC Auto calls, and they're like, we have your car, but we don't have the key. And I'm like, shit, I have the key. So we get another Uber, and we ride to JC Auto. And like I was saying, we had just taken Ubers all over Gainesville at this point, just to get around. We were so optimistic about this whole thing. Like, yeah, what a crazy adventure. We're having so much fun getting to see the city. By this point, we're just not enjoying it.
She's putting her fist in her face for our audience. Ugh.
Yeah, so we're just over it at this point. And to make a long story short, okay, well, backstory. My friend and I had both...
Long story short. Let me tell you some more story.
Oh, man.
My friend and I had both kind of anticipated that we might be crashing in Gainesville for the night, depending on how late we get out of the show. Maybe we were too sleepy to drive home. So we had packed some shit. And when we took my car to the shop because it broke down and we were going to walk to the concert, he grabbed his backpack, obviously. And I was like, I don't want to hold stuff. So I left my shit in my car. But I believed, in my heart of hearts, that by 8 o'clock that morning, I would go to Firestone and get my car and go home.
That did not happen.
And I got my stuff, and I didn't get my car until 6:30 at night.
Oh.
And it cost everything I had in my bank account. And then I went home, and then I had to wake up the next morning at 7 o'clock to go do people's taxes. The end.
Jeez.
Damn.
And I couldn't be mad because I was like, my car was going to break down one day anyway. It's kind of an inevitability of car ownership. You can't just expect it to be flawless all the time. So I was
life fucks you up sometimes.
I expect life to be flawless.
It's the thing.
It hasn't been.
No, it hasn't been.
John Claude, do you have any car stories?
Car stories.
Car trouble stories, I should say.
Have had my front right headlight out for the past 6 months now.
Big fucking one.
So Kat, that whole story was a transition into a different topic. What exactly is this topic?
The inevitability of car ownership. That one day it's going to suck you dry of everything you have.
Oh my god.
And you can't be mad.
I got a car story. I got a car story. I got a car story.
Just tell your damn story, man. just go for it.
I was originally from Florida, and I moved to California. I did not fly. I drove so I could have my car here.
Nice.
So I went on a road trip with my dad, and everything was great. We were going on time, and I was going to be in California the day before I had to go in to work. But life had other plans.
Oh.
And so did my car.
Bum, bum, bum.
Unfortunately, my car broke down in the middle of nowhere in New Mexico. It turns out the front axle, popped off.
Ooh.
I don't want to say popped off. It was like misplaced somehow. It didn't kerclunk onto the ground or anything. But we had to call someone, and we're like, hey, is there any place we can go? We called insurance, and they're like, well, it looks like there's only one place in this tiny little town, and you have to tow it to Albuquerque the next day. And we're like, ugh. So we had to go to so we stayed in that small, dinky little town for the night. Then we went to Albuquerque, and my dad's like, all right, you're going to miss work, so I'm going to have to put you on a plane. So I got a day's worth of clothes in my backpack, went on a plane. Fortunately, I got to work, and my dad drove up the Volvo 2 days later, and he's like, everything's fixed.
Wow. Your dad's a cool guy.
My dad is really cool. Shout out to my dad if he's listening to this. But it wasn't I'm not saying it was bad at all. It was just it was very inconvenient, and that's how my car broke down.
Yeah, it's always an inconvenience.
Yeah, that's how my car broke down in the middle of nowhere, and my dad is a superhero and a saint.
Oh man. Shout outs to Gage's dad.
Yeah, he was also... Kat has met my dad. Have you met my dad, John Claude?
I've never met Either of your parents.
I've had the privilege of meeting both your parents, and they are lovely.
You've never
They're
met my
lovely
dad.
people.
I've met your mom.
You have met my mom. She was sitting on the couch that day.
She was sitting on the couch. I remember it clearly.
That very day.
Yay.
Yayish.
So when I got my car from the shop in Gainesville, finally, they had done all the repairs, and then the mechanic said to me, he said, "Your AC's broken." And I said, "No, it's not." And I drove my car home, and my AC was broken.
He probably broke the AC. He was slapping at it with a wrench like in Team Fortress 2.
Like, let's raise the price on these repairs a little bit.
I feel like I'm always afraid going to a mechanic that they're going to do something like that, or they're going to tell me that I need a part replaced that I don't necessarily need replaced.
I know.
Oh, yeah, to grease up that deal.
Places like Jiffy Lube are very notorious for doing things like that.
Really?
They are. There are documentaries on, they will say that you need a new, part on a car, radiator. Let's say radiator.
Your car needs a new radiator.
Exactly. Thank you, Jim. So your car needs a new radiator. And during this documentary, they were filming this person working on the car. And the person brought up the new part for the new radiator, brought it out. They were filming this person in secret, went to lunch, came back, put the new radiator back where he got it from, left the old radiator in, charged the person for a new radiator.
Oh, that's so shitty.
Yeah. I mean, that was Jiffy Lube. And that was back.
That sucks that it happened like at that big of a company.
Chains, from what I've learned now, as an adult experiencing car repairs, chains will always overcharge you. Like, I took my car to a Firestone because I'm like, Firestone, that sounds fancy. I felt like my car was going to be like a Flareon when I got it back.
Mm-hmm.
No.
Flareon is the fire-type Pokemon that Eevee evolves into if you give it the Firestone in Cerulean City.
See, when you said Flareon, I thought you were naming a brand of car that you really liked. And I thought, wow.
Oh, no. I was talking about Pokemon.
Okay. Well, you thought your car was going to come out as an animal that you could then ride.
Yeah, I was like, Firestone, that sounds fucking exciting.
Oh, God,
Not for
Firestone.
$700.
Joke all over my head.
Oh,
entirely.
my God.
Good God.
You ruined my joke, Jean-Claude. This is supposed to be hilarious. I said it because I thought it would be funny, and you ruined it.
Cut the track.
I thought it was funny.
Just edit me out. Edit that whole thing.
Edit you out the entire podcast.
Yes.
But the moral of the story is, if you go to, mom and pop shops, they'll do you right.
Well, because they need to build up a clientele, and that's how they stay in business. So,
which reminds me, I have to give them a 5-star Yelp review because they saved my life.
By the way, I have to give that radio station a 1-star review for...
Took your money.
No money was taken. They took my time.
They almost,
which is worse because time is money.
By the way, go on Yelp and give a 5-star review to Florida Urology Partners. Say it was the best catheterization that you ever got.
I only bled for half the day.
I didn't have to go to the ER after all. I just had to temporarily stop taking my blood thinners.
Oh dear.
What is my life?
Oh golly geez. What are your headphones named?
Sennheisers?
Yes. I believe I had a pair. They broke. They broke.
When I worked at GameStop, I actually spent one of my paychecks on a really nice pair of headphones. I think they were like Titans or something like that. They were some brand of gaming headphones that was made for people that played Call of Duty so they could hear the footsteps of some shit. I don't know. I just wanted a nice pair of headphones, so I bought them. And then when I went to college, I was living with my roommate, not Carlos, but Elias. And we switched headphones for a little while because he was playing online video games a lot. He was playing League of Legends or something, and he wanted nice headphones. So he borrowed mine. He gave me these. He broke mine. I kept these. And that's the story.
See, my story is slightly different. I'm not going to say who, but you guys know who. I let my roommate borrow my headphones, and he left them at the lab. And he was like, "Oh, I'll give you back." I'm like, "Dude, those were $200 headphones." He's like, "Yeah, I'll pay you back." Never did.
Oh,
I'm calling him out. You know who you are.
Oh man, he does know who he is. How is he doing, by the way? I bet he's doing okay.
That was so philosophical.
I haven't talked to him in a while, but he's doing. I don't want to give too much. Fuck it, it's Colby.
All that build up, and then just let him have it.
Yeah, I'm honestly not too mad about the headphones, Colby, if you somehow stumble upon this. But I believe he's doing all right. I believe he's still dating Rashmi. And
I Facebook stalk them. Not like actively, just, on Facebook.
yeah, every once in a while you think about them.
I saw they were playing Civilization, and I thought to myself, that's cute. They play Civilization together online.
We probably shouldn't gossip about other people's relationship. Ooh, welcome to the Gossip Podcast with Jean-Claude and Gage.
Yes.
Did you hear?
And Kat. Kat's here too.
And sometimes Kat. Kat and I were discussing before the podcast, like, crying. And she's like, I'm crying all the time. And I'm like, on the inside, right? She's like, sometimes the outside. And I'm like, that's an awesome album name. I'm crying on the inside, in parenthesis, sometimes on the outside.
That is a good album name. Dang. I haven't had a good cry in a while. I think I need that. I could use some catharsis in my life.
Yeah, crying is really therapeutic. I don't know why. I don't want to sound like the man is keeping us down, but I feel like society teaches us to sort of repress those emotions when it's really healthy to let them out.
I think not specifically, but predominantly male types are taught to suppress that kind of side of themselves.
Yeah.
Which is unfortunate. And then, females also have their suppressions in terms of masculinity. I'm doing air quotes. That's a completely different topic for a different day that could get very philosophical.
I could talk about that for a long time.
Yeah.
Oh, yes, you can.
I've met a lot of girls that...
What?
Who are we
So what's
talking?
that supposed to mean? Gage?
Oh, yeah. It means you're a very strong woman.
Thank you.
And you deal with a lot of shit.
As do we all.
I met a lot of, as of recently, and I don't know if that's just because in terms of the people that are in school with me right now, in terms of getting to the postgraduate kind of pre-med area, especially going into doctor stuff, you have to kind of be a strong female character to get that far. But I've been meeting a lot of strong-willed female people. I have to say that's a super attractive quality in people.
Kat's probably the strongest female I know.
So nice.
Shut up, Kat.
Tell me to shut up, I'll fight you.
She will. If she wasn't across the country, she would beat my ass.
I'm a bitter person. Somebody was rude to me at work today, and I was just mad the rest of the day.
Ooh.
Oh, dude, yesterday I was on the street, and I was just like texting, about to call my mom, and some guy behind me, by the way, did nothing to him. He's like, and I'm sorry if I offend anyone, but he's like, move, faggot boy.
Aww.
And I moved out of the way because I'm like, I probably didn't hear him right. And he's like, thanks, faggot boy.
What
and I'm like,
asshole.
yeah. And I'm like, okay, thanks, bye. And he's like, hey, you know it. And, and I'm like, what the fuck did I do?
You can't really thinking about what kind of life that person lives, it's like, I can't really be envious of your life.
Right. Not justifying his actions, but I don't even think that guy had a problem with you or anything like that.
Of course,
I
he
want to
probably
say
has
that,
a problem with himself.
Yeah, not even necessarily maybe a problem with himself. I think just the way that he's formed his personality, that is the way that he interacts with strangers.
It's been kind of socialized to have that personality and think
that's his kind of joking demeanor with other people, and that's how he chooses to say things. I don't know. That's weird.
On this week of the podcast, Jean-Claude defends a homophobic pedestrian.
I think it's an okay word. I think that we should build a wall around all of those people.
I was just about to say, are you doing my Donnie Trump impression? I'm like, Donnie, look at us being topical with Donnie.
Yeah. And interesting.
I was in church today. And sorry to keep interrupting, but real quick, I was at church, and they're like, who is the enemy of the Lord? And someone yelled out, Hillary Clinton.
Oh, my God.
And I'm like, have you not seen everyone else?
I know nothing of politics, so I'm not going to necessarily make it.
I've been watching all the debates. I've been watching all the primaries, everything. I'm actually recording the debate right now.
Nice. That's important. I'll have to sit down and talk to you about that so you can fill me in case I go in for some sort of interview and need to talk about things.
Basically, what you need to know is Donald Trump He knows what he's talking about.
God, no.
He's a smart man.
Yes, he is a Sith Lord.
He's a Sith Lord with the power of
He's
the
terrifying.
dark side.
He really is, but
He's a bully through and through. Sorry, what were you going to say before I went on a rant about?
It's going back to something that Kat said earlier. There was a coworker that you said pissed you off or something, and you were mad for the rest of the day.
It was a customer.
It was a customer?
Food, yeah.
So what do you think? This is just a query posed to you all.
Yeah.
What do you think is a better therapy or a better way to deal with it? Would it be better to blow back up at that person and kind of get all that bottled up rage that you had at that customer back out and then feel good for the rest of the day, but have that explosion at that person, or bottle it up and then just be angry for the rest of the day, but not have that customer yelled at?
I don't think either, actually.
Okay.
I don't think you should bottle it up, but I think you should kind of like know how to not let it bother you and just kind of like put it away and focus on doing your job for the rest of the day. And then when you have time, go complain to people about it or, vent about it. But I also think that if it's something that really like offends you on a personal level, I think you have, it's hard to say because working in like customer service, you have to retain this level of professionalism where it's like, oh, you have to be nice to the customer because
You have to be very careful with your words.
Exactly, because ultimately at the end of the day, that's the person that's giving your store their money. So it's hard but anyway, I mean, I was saying that I think there's a point where if somebody really offends you on a personal level, I think you have every right to stand up for yourself and tell that person they don't have the right to speak to you that way. But it's hard to say because I thought about responding to that person today, but I'm thinking like, is my boss going to yell at me for being rude back to this person or even being firm to this person? Because nothing is really going to stop that person from like going on our Facebook and giving us a shitty review and like naming me by name and saying this person was mean to me. But it's like, I don't know. I just got so mad because I'm like, what gives you the right to come into this store and treat the employees like shit? That's my rant. Anyway.
No, it's a good rant. Well, it is true that the guy can just give you a shitty review on Yelp or Facebook or whatever. But at the same time, you are entitled to... Sorry, I went off on a little bit of a brain fart. My point was, one of the great things about being an adult is just going, hey, fuck you, dude. Without like, when you're a kid, you can't say that shit. You can't mouth off at any adult ever because adults are like, oh, I know better since I'm an adult. But they really don't. But that's the illusion we have to keep to kids. When someone pisses you off, you don't have to just take it. You could just be like, fuck you.
Yeah.
That's, I feel like we've said a lot of negative things about sort of adulthood on this podcast. That's what I want to bring it back around. Like, it's okay to burst out at people from time to time when you're within your rights. Or if you're just having a shitty day and you want to take it out on someone, say your wife.
Don't do that.
Yeah.
We do not condone...
2 out of 3 members of this podcast do not condone domestic violence.
I didn't say I said verbal violence.
Don't abuse. That's still abuse. Don't listen to Gage.
It is still abuse. Don't listen to me. I'm going to cut this part out.
Well, you should keep that part in. What I think is even cooler is if you can find a way to reprimand that person in a constructive, intellectual way that does not extend past your boundaries. Like that's what's cool about if you're very good at the English language or something like that, you can weave your sentences in such a way that you can just wreck this person, but it can sound so harmless.
I was listening to a podcast and I wish I said it to the faggot guy yesterday. Rice Pirate, or someone we talk about a lot, a cat, and those of you who don't know, Rice Pirate is an animator online. He did the Leviosa voice.
Oh, yes. Okay. Excellent.
Leviosa.
Yes.
Yes. They were talking about insults, and the insult that hit hardest for me was if you call someone a child.
Oh, yeah.
Like, it would feel so freeing just to look someone in the eye, especially since we're so young, and just being like, you're acting like a child right now.
I have so many things to say about that. First off, the first thing that comes to mind is when I was in Tallahassee, I was seeing a therapist, and she was telling me, because I told her there was a person that you both may know very well who I had a lot of problems with when I lived in Tallahassee, and I would tell my therapist a lot about all these conflicts we would have, and I don't know how to handle them.
Oh, yes. Okay, now I know. Sorry.
Yeah. And she told me the best thing to do is if this person was in a state where they would not speak to me and discuss anything with me, she told me to tell them, when you're ready to have an adult conversation, I'll be here to talk. And that's something that's like, it doesn't sound like, if you say it the right way, it doesn't sound asshole-ish, but I don't know, I just thought it was so good.
No, it perfectly gets across what you're trying to. I had one of those.
Like, they're not able to talk to you as an adult right now. And I thought,
I had one of those issues with one of my roommates, Dan. Do you guys remember Dan?
Yeah, I remember Dan.
Yeah.
Great guy.
Did you ever?
Not
I feel
really.
like you came over to some of our parties, and he was Carlos's and I's old roommate before that guy Gannon.
Oh wait,
Remember him,
no,
Kat?
I'm thinking of Gannon.
yeah.
Okay, no, not the guy before Gannon. So Dan was a guy that I went to high school with, and we never really talked in high school. And then we met up. We were taking some of the same classes in college. We started studying together. We started hanging out, and we became like best friends. And we started rooming together. And oh man, we were the best of friends throughout junior year, I guess. It was probably when our friendships were starting to actually become
Blossom.
good. Yeah, exactly. So, but there was a point where his girlfriend left for a semester and kind of broke up with him for that semester. And he was heartbroken, and then ended up coming back. This is making things very, very short, like condensing a lot of things. But she came back the following semester, and after I thought he was finally kind of over that whole shit, he ended up falling back in with that whole deal, and she was very not good. And because of that, we started growing super distant because he was hanging out with her more and more, and she was kind of drawing him away, and he felt, I think, embarrassed to be seen with her around our house and around me. So that's why he also like distanced himself. And so our friendship just became more and more distant to the point where it reached this climactic moment where Carlos and I held a party, and I don't know if we didn't tell him about it or something, but he wasn't there. And he just showed up in the evening, went straight to his room with her. And the next day they were ignoring me the whole entire day when I came back from class, just completely just silent treatment. I didn't know what the hell was going on. So I decided to confront him about it when she wasn't around. Smart move, right? See what's going on from his mouth.
That would be my thing. That's
Right.
what I would do.
So I knock on his door when he's alone one night, and I come in. I start talking to him. I say, "So what the hell was up with you last night? What's going on with us?" And he turns to me and he just says, "I'm done with you. I'm just done." So I ask him, "You're done? What does that mean?" And he says, "I'm just done." And he just refused to tell me why or what was wrong with the whole entire scenario. And he said, for the next 3 months, we're not going to talk to each other. And that's what he told me straight up. Like, I'm going to give you this time frame, which I later learned the 3-month time frame was because he was moving out. He gave me this arbitrary time frame at that moment that we weren't going to speak. Like, and after that, everything would be okay. And so I look at him and I just say, like, "Okay, fine. For the next 3 months, you could fuck off." And I slam the door and walk up to my room. But that's kind of one of those situations where I felt like I could have just been like, when you want to have an adult conversation and tell me what the fuck's going on, I'll be here. And it never was okay after that.
Maybe I'm like, I don't want to say I'm like bitter, but it seems like a lot of people, especially around our age, focus on their significant other way too much and let it consume their life. Mm-hmm. When he breaks up with her or she breaks up with him, they're just like halves of people. They don't know what to do because they relied on that person so much for emotional support or physical support, something along those lines. And if you're in that state, you're in no state to be in a relationship.
I think that results from, especially during, like you said, it's during this time in our lives, this time in people's lives. And I think it stems from the fact that those people they don't have a career. I don't think they're necessarily super confident in who they are at that moment as people. And so since they're not okay being just themselves, they have to be okay being with someone else. And that other person kind of fills that other half. Does that make sense?
When they don't have that person, they have no idea what to do with their time.
Yeah.
Right.
So as we're becoming adults now, and we're actually getting jobs and we have our own priorities to deal with, it becomes easier to kind of juggle a relationship with that because you're both doing your own thing. You're both more understanding because the other person's doing their things.
And you've taken that time to get to know who you are as a person and what you want out of life.
Yeah.
Right. That goes back to sort of what society or the media is saying about like, oh, you're not really complete until you find this person. When really, instead of being two halves that fit together, you have to be your own spear or something and be that person. And then you get together with another spear and you're two big balls in the sky.
And then just one pillar of light coming out between the two spheres.
Oh my. Oh my. I didn't expect to get this philosophical. Kat, do you have any?
Great. Do I have what?
Do you have anything to say about relationships and people who get consumed by them?
I know people who let that happen to themselves, and there's nothing wrong with being a relationship person, but when you're not in a relationship, you have to know enough of who you are that you know what to do with your time. Like, I know people who have gotten out of relationships and they have no hobbies. They don't know what they want to do. They don't know what to do with free time. And it's like, I don't know. Like, when I have free time, I have so much shit I want to do. I like being a single person.
Yeah. I actually had a really tough conversation with Carlos one time. And he came and visited. When did he come and visit? I don't know. Carlos came to visit one time. Carlos is my old roommate from college, by the way, everyone. And he came and visited, and one of our last nights that he was here, we went out to dinner, and we did not intend for the conversation to go this way, but we ended up just kind of settling on discussing me and relationships and my kind of side of that. And he started asking me these questions about, what did he say at one point? He said, whenever you dropped off your significant other at their house and you were free to be alone, did you ever feel like relieved to kind of get them off of your shoulders or something, like to be alone? And I thought about it and I thought like, yeah, it was not often, but there were times when I just like dropped them off at their house and I was like, yes, I can be alone. I have to do my thing for right now. I don't know if that's introversion or something like that, but
I think that's one part of being introverted is you kind of have to have like alone time. And I don't think that says anything negative about your relationship with that person. Like, I love my friends, but when I leave, when I come home and I'm by myself, like, I love that too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You gotta. By the way, this is coming from Carlos. Carlos is a lot smarter than I thought.
Oh, yeah.
That Carlos wasn't smart. That's rude. He's going to listen to this podcast.
He's going to be on this podcast next.
He is. Yeah. Maybe we'll talk about that a little bit. But Carlos, yeah, during that, I have to apologize to him next time again, because by the end of that conversation, he had revealed he was very perceptive about who I was as a person. And he kind of revealed a lot of truths about me that I wasn't necessarily
ready to hear.
Yeah.
That's really interesting.
Yeah. When he said it and a lot of things just clicked into place, it was rough. But he also said about himself that he at one point had the same kind of thing where he just had at one point to deal with a lot of truths about himself that he wasn't ready to hear. But when he accepted it, he knew himself better and it was good. Mm-hmm. So
right.
Maybe I'll tell you guys about that one day. But
one of these days when we're not recording.
Yeah.
But yeah, thank you very much, John and Claude, for sharing. Cough clap, cough clap.
Oh gosh, okay.
It's hard to face those truths. A particular person sat me down and was like, look, I know you have this sort of affinity for me, and it's just not going to work out for this reason and this reason because you sort of felt that way. And I'm like, well, yeah, they were sort of right, and I agreed with them on some things, and I agreed with them on not some other things, but overall, the basic message was, I got to work on myself more before going to another person. So that's what I've been doing, and it's been working out A-okay.
Nice. That's 100% okay. And a very good thing to do. And it kind of revolves back to what we were saying earlier. You got to be okay with being you before, because otherwise you might get trapped in that hole.
Of course, yeah. It's For the longest time, I was like the hopeless romantic from every movie. I was like a Ted Mosby or a Ross from Friends.
Oh man.
By the way, I couldn't get through the first 4 episodes of Friends because Ross was so whiny.
Ross is the worst character on that show. But if you do take Ross out of the equation, it kind of removes someone that you can just hate. And I think it makes it less of a show. Anyways, keep going.
Oh, yeah. All I was going to say was, like, I didn't know, like, I never said it out loud, but in my brain, I was like, oh, I'm going to find the one. I'm going to settle down. I'm going to get a job, and everything is going to be A-okay. And that's not how life works.
No, I think if you put time restraints on things, like time limits, and then things don't fall into those limits, it's a disaster.
Oh, okay.
No, it's true. If you
Sorry, I was slightly distracted because I was thinking about my own mortality.
Oh,
no,
God.
if you think like by the end of this year I'll have a job, and then by the end of this time frame I'll be married and I'll be in love and I'll have a house. Like, things are never going to work out according to plan. Like, I feel like the more I plan shit and the more things don't go according to plan, like, the more chaotic life feels. But if you stop, like, restraining your life to, like, these rigid limitations, I think they work out the right way.
Yeah, I sort of put it in a higher power's hand and sort of let things happen. Whatever happens, right?
Mm-hmm.
Anyways, we should probably wrap up the podcast because I need to go to Outback Steakhouse.
Oh, snap.
Invite me back. I want to tell you guys how old I am. I'm like
Oh,
40.
Okay, do you have any, like, concluding thoughts on the podcast, Kat?
Concluding thoughts on the podcast. Thanks for having me on. Good pleasure.
No problem.
If I were to wrap up my thoughts on adulthood, I think it's all a state of mind. If you consider yourself an adult, people will view you as an adult. If you think you're like some shitty kid who doesn't know what they're doing, it's gonna come across that way. Believe in your adultness. The end.
Are you referring to me being a shitty kid? Because that's how I refer to myself.
It's like a general you.
Oh, yeah. I was just yanking your chain.
If you took that personally, that's a Gage problem.
That's not my problem. But, yeah, Kat, thank you for being on and being a good sport. I said
Thanks
some
for having
things.
me.
I said some things for the sake of comedy, and it didn't really pan out that way.
I know. I think the moral of today's episode was we said it because we thought it would be funny.
Yeah, do it for the joke.
Yeah. Even if you're the only one laughing.
You gotta
somebody-
I
laugh
laugh
at
at my
yourself. John Claude, do you have any concluding thoughts?
Extrapolating upon Kat's last point, I guess, as a growing adult, don't be ashamed or afraid to have failures, because I guess you learn a lot more from failures than you do from successes. And also don't be afraid to address some of the darker halves of yourself, because a lot of the times it's fixable and you got to acknowledge it.
And with that, I wave my hand, I tip my hat, and I say, until next week, young viewers, when you will join us on Almost Adults.
Oh man. Nice.
Thank you.
Sexy.